everybody. I'm Jerrica.
And I'm Lia, and this is a special episode.
Ooh, special episode of We'd Rather Be Reading. And
Yes.
this month we added an extra book for Black History Month, highlighting a Black author whose name is Namina Forna.
It's just
I hope we're pronouncing it correctly.
I really hope so. But this is just because I have no memory. It's been discussed thoroughly today that I remember nothing, so...
Lia has burned her brain with the books.
Yeah, for sure. I have no idea what any book is about. Like, I need to read it right before talking about it because, you know, you give it a day or two and it's all gone.
You move on to the next book quite quickly, so then your mind resets. So it can take in new information.
But I mean, it's to the point where I can start reading a book and being like, this feels very familiar.
Oh no, you've already read it?
Yeah.
No!
And then it's like a few chapters in, I'm like, I am sure that I have read this before. I feel like I have read this before. And then I will go on Goodreads, which keeps track on all of my books, and it will say, read. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, I did read this.
But good thing for Goodreads then.
Oh my goodness, I would not be able to manage my reading otherwise. How would I find new books? How would I do anything? How would I exist? I would have to follow like Scribe's suggestions for what to read next, and honestly, Scribe's not that great at suggesting stuff for me, I find.
No. Sometimes it comes up and you're like, but this only has 3 reviews. I wonder if this is in fact.
and I think iBooks is even worse, honestly. Apple Books.
Is it?
You should probably no.
No,
it has not worked out very well for me. Those every time I clicked on those, it's been a little bit of a disappointment. So the algorithm there needs a little bit of work. But this book, though, which we did find off this list that listed all the prominent Black authors in YA and NA, we chose because it sounded really cool, and also because of the cover.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
the book is called The Gilded Ones.
Yes.
By Namina Forna. And what I think is like so super cool about this, the fact that we decided to read it from a list that you saw on Goodreads, and also when we started up our Twitter account, we followed her, and she's quite active on Twitter. So it was a title that I had seen many times before. So when you showed it to me, I was like, yes, this is going to be definitely a good one. But what my favorite thing that happened was that during the time that we were reading this book, she became a New York Times best-selling author for The Gilded Ones.
Amazing. And amazing. I mean, well-deserved, because this book is amazing.
The book is
really, really liked it.
It was so good. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars and even wrote a review on Goodreads, which I hardly ever write reviews. I always star it, but do you ever write reviews?
I don't always star it either, but I tend to not leave a star review on most of them. And I mean, for a while I did star all of my reviews, but then I found that I was way too lenient with all the books. They were all 5 stars, or when I hated it, like 1 stars.
Okay, you went very far.
I was never in the middle.
Okay.
And then, I don't know, lately I've only reviewed a couple of books, and then one of them I actually gave a 1 star and wrote a very scathing review that I might have to go and edit, because I was very upset when I wrote it.
Was your immediate emotions?
It was my immediate emotions.
And now you forgot what the book was about anyway.
I don't even know which book it was, so clearly it did not leave a lasting impression here.
But this book we highly recommend. I'm so happy that we read it.
Oh, me too. And like I said, the cover is amazing. And
tell us what the cover looks like.
Well, I should pull it up just so I can see it. Hang on, I just need
The cover is the picture of Deka, who is how do you pronounce her name? Because for me it's Deka.
I did Deka, actually.
I thought you did say Deka to me once. I'm like, okay.
But I don't know. Namina, we need your help. How to pronounce
her name? Deka or Deka?
Deka and Keita, I did.
Oh, I called him Kita.
See?
So that was really different. I call him Kita and her Deka.
Okay,
we need Deka and Kita is a little ee. I don't know how I feel about the ee, but for me it's Deka and Kita.
I did Keita and Deka.
But Keita is a nice name also. So let us know how it's pronounced. So we would love to hear that.
We do want to hear that, so we can continue talking about this book and not sound like idiots by mispronouncing the main characters' names. Well, The Gilded Ones, the cover, it has a cover of Deka or Deka on it, and she's dressed in this cool golden armor, and she's got this gold face paint, and her hair is in braided, fantastic up style. It's braided with little gold things in it, and the gold here is we should say it here, like every podcast, we are going to spoil this book so much. All spoilers.
The entire podcast is a spoiler of what this book is about, what happens in it, our plot predictions of it, what we thought about it throughout the way, our like little messages to each other.
Yep. So because we wanted to do this one as a bonus kind of special episode, we didn't follow the regular formatting of this. So I only actually started predicting after chapter 13, which is not common for us. We usually are strictly predicting somewhere really in chapter 1 to 5 kind of thing. But this book, it's about Deka, and it's very heavy on hating women in the beginning.
Yeah. It's a dystopian society.
Yeah, which is not honestly that far-fetched from some of the societies we live in now. Sure. It is very much a society where women have to be covered. They're not allowed to show off any skills. Their only jobs are in the home, caring for the household, taking care of children. They're not allowed to go to school. They're not allowed to have jobs. These kinds of things.
They're not allowed to exercise. They're not allowed to do anything that might make them seem slightly better than men.
Yep. Yeah, so it's very restrictive.
Subservient.
To women. And this raises my hackles right away because I have issues with this.
Yeah.
Oh, I was angry on behalf of this.
That's true.
The whole time, the whole way through. And I was very pleased with the way the story progressed, where the women started showing their skills and taking more space and taking back and not standing for this shit. But it's very much a cultural thing and a religious thing. It's got priests enforcing this, and it can be drawn parallels to certain religions and certain cultures that we have that are not dystopian, that are just kind of happening now.
That's true.
So I was thinking a lot about that. But in this book, when they're about 15, 16, they have this... what are they calling it?
The ritual.
The ritual where they draw blood. The priest will cut them, and if their blood runs red, then they are pure. And this is whole thing of purity and being impure, which is a common theme again in religion in general, of women's impurity and the fact that women have to... It's women who have to be responsible for men's actions, which is one of my absolute real life pet peeves. Like I hate that if men cannot freaking look at women's bodies, they are the ones who should avert their eyes and not women who should be having to cover up. But, you know, in this book, women have the role of covering up, and women are responsible for the man's actions in pretty much anything.
There are different villages where they have a little bit different rules, but overall, men rule everything and women are subservient, and they need to be pure. And pure, like, not even have, like, a scratch on their skin. But or ever kiss another boy.
No kiss. But the scratches, I think it was to make sure that the actual color of the blood is shown at the ritual and not before. So this ritual is about to happen. Deka is standing in line, basically waiting to be cut, and these death shrieks, monster-like creatures, show up. And it turns out that she can kind of command them in a way, like she just like in the beginning, she says stop and go away, and they kind of just listen to her.
So she's not drawn blood yet, so we don't know if she's pure or not according to their standards.
Yep.
When she gets the death shrieks to go away, they've already killed a bunch of people in her village. So you would think she would then be the hero, but instead, her love interest and her dad, and of course all of the village elders, immediately turn on her, draw her blood, see that it is running the color gold.
Gold, yeah. So she has golden blood, and then they promptly take her away, lock her in a basement, and start trying to kill her.
And kill her. Very much kill her.
Yeah, they kill her 9 times, actually.
In a lot of different, really brutal ways.
Yes.
To try to find how to kill her. Now they're calling her a demon because she... keeps regrowing her parts together, which was actually really a cool thing to envision when somebody said, "Where's the dad?" And he's like, he's sick now. Once he started to see your tendons from your head regrow, attach back to your neck, he pretty much had enough of that.
Yep.
And I was like, wow, I could see it. I could see the, like, veins and tendons making the head grow back to the body. That was super cool.
Yes. And she's being kept there in this basement, being killed over and over again. And they actually drain her of her blood so they can sell it because her blood is actually pure gold.
Which you think would make you like
yeah, you'd think this
valuable.
Would make you like, people like you, but no, they just want to kill you.
Yeah.
I guess fear of the unknown and all of that stuff.
And that makes her then more valuable than them, right? And women are not allowed to be at this point.
And then this woman comes, and she's referred to by the name that Deka gives her, White Hands.
I love it.
Yeah, because she has gauntlets that are white. And she comes and she basically makes the priests and the people holding Deka captured, makes them give her up because she now needs to go and fight in a special army of the Emperor because they are gathering up all the demon women for this. And she also gives them... she reveals or she tells Deka what people like her are called, and it's Alaki.
Yeah.
Alaki. All the people she's going to go and train with are also Alaki, and then they will get partnered up with boys.
Yeah.
Uroni? Yeah. And that will train kind of in parallel with them and then together with them, so they will be partnered up, one girl to one boy. So they're taken to the capital.
Yes.
And they're placed in this big warehouse. And then they get kind of registered and they have to line up, and then the boys come in and they just kind of walk the lines until they line up, and then it's like, okay, here's the person you're paired up with. And she gets paired up with Keta.
Yeah.
And he's already shown himself by, standing up and speaking before she get paired up with him. So she's like, oh God, he's going to be like super into this kind of...
Yeah, rah.
Yeah, and he probably thinks I'm a demon and this will be horrible. But he turns out really nice, actually. I like Keta.
Of course. You like love him in the end of it. But you went ahead of me there because when I did my first prediction, it was chapter 7 because you said, oh, let's predict stuff. Oh, whoops, I'm on chapter 14.
Yep.
You flew through this book. I was very boring, busy with work, but I actually did also fly through this book. I read it in maybe just 3 days. But where I was on chapter 7, they are not yet arriving at the campgrounds, or how do you envision that? Are they at the capital? But where are they? They're inside of the place where they're fighting.
Okay, because I envision that as they go to the capital, they get teamed up and then they get sent in transport, and there's several of these camps that train them, the Alaki.
Yeah.
And they're being put in, Deka and Keta are being put in like the elite one in a way. That's going to be like the special forces in a way. Out of this, the specialist of the special forces.
Yeah.
I see it kind of like, I saw it up on a mountain, kind of like a fortress style place. But I don't know.
Fortress style sounds perfect. But they're not at the fortress yet. She has been taken by White Hands, which, by the way, I have to say, I wrote, this world is both frightening and amazing. The creatures are so cool. The dying coming back is awesome. But when she's on her journey between when White Hands takes her to the capital, it takes a whole month.
Yeah.
And during that month, she sleeps. She never wakes up, not once.
When they're on the boat, yes.
Yeah.
She goes to sleep and she sleeps for a month. That's
she
true.
sleeps for a month.
Eat.
So then she wakes up and her friend Britta, that's right next to her, and then White Hands, they're like, you're alive. Oh. How did you not eat, not drink for this entire... And I thought I didn't see that coming. That was so unpredictable and that was so creative. And the fact that when this woman White Hands came to collect her, she just said, I'm in my head gonna call her White Hands because I have no name for her.
But she wouldn't give her a name either.
And then she calls her White Hands, announce it, White Hands, and then White Hands just accepts the fact that she calls her White Hands. And then everyone now calls her White Hands, as if it's this is my given born name.
Which makes sense when you read the full book, because she does give the explanation towards the end of the book why she was okay with being named by Deka.
Exactly. But I thought that was some wonderful humor, it was witty, behind the scenes witty, not dun-dun-dun witty,
No, it's good, and
and I said that Britta is a delight also. The accent and writing really makes you imagine that her accent is flawless, because the way that she wrote the words, they were all misspelled because of the accent that Britta has. And they remind me of the knife books.
Yes.
The Knife and Letting Go books. And I was like, oh, but this is awesome. The fact that we get to hear her accent by reading the words improperly.
Yes. And Britta is amazing. I didn't write anything about Britta in my very few notes that I put down.
You did.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Every time I had like a thought, I was like, chapter 14, this.
Yeah, clearly I did not do that. I had plans to do that.
So
I did chapter 13 and then chapter 26. So clearly.
So now she just woke up from the travel, and this is where I give my prediction. I said, oh, good God, how do I predict a book that's already been so unpredictable? Like, really every turn so far in just 7 chapters, you're like, oh, what?
Yes.
I did not see that coming. Oh, that's crazy. Oh, that's even crazier. So I said gold blood, totally immortal, sleeps for a month, furry animal people who talk and wave. The waving part, I need to see.
But these are the accused, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I see them as centaurs.
But they waved at her.
I see them as centaurs.
But I don't know. That's fine. They ride them, right?
Yeah, but they're like horses with human upper bodies, but they have fur, so obviously they can wave because they got hands.
Okay, I see what you mean. So they're like full hands and then legs, but then
like
not
horse body
hooves.
from here and...
Okay, 6 limbs. Gotcha.
Yeah, which is stupid, because honestly, if you're going to do half horse, half person, they should be walking on their head. Regardless, I rest my case on this one.
So you see them kind of centaur-y. I saw them like much furrier and weirder looking, but they were super cool. They could talk and they could wave. So I said anything could be next, literally anything. Okay. Deka or Deka is in training. She will die a bunch, and they will all see she is a descendant of the god sent to either heal or destroy their dystopian ways. Since it's not so predictable, I'm going to say it's to destroy. I am hoping for a leadership role in Deka and maybe a love interest by some prince or king. If not through a prince, then she becomes queen because of some birthright from the gods. She learns to use her magic and kills some bad guys, and as queen, reset society to a better people, Lia's favorite democracy. I won, right?
And you won. Yes, this prediction is on point, man.
I won!
So good.
How did I predict?
Because you pretty much predicted the whole book, which is amazing.
That's crazy.
My prediction comes after chapter 13, where I got caught up here on the death shrieks, really, because I'm predicting that there's more to the death shrieks. I think they're connected to Deka. Maybe they're even dead Alaki, which...
Nailed it.
And I get the feeling that Deka will regret commanding them and letting them get slaughtered, which, again, nailed it. Yes.
We feel really accomplished already.
I went off on a tangent here with the religion and how it's restricted to women, and that it's only women who get the Alaki powers, which is also true.
Yeah.
And then I predicted that Deka would die at least 9 more times in the book. Then I forgot to count, so I'm not sure how accurate I was on that. Good. But probably. And then obviously Kita and Deka will be a thing, and I even put a little emoji here in my predictions because, you know, I'm a teenage girl.
I have an emoji here too. And we are not teenage girls.
And then I was wondering a lot about the eyes, because whenever she commands the death shrieks, they say her eyes change, but they don't explain why or how until much later on in the books. So I was wondering how they would look. I thought maybe they were glowing. It turns out they turn all black, because what happens when she commands the death shrieks is she starts looking more like them.
Yeah.
Yes. And then honestly, I have no more. I predicted democracy in chapter 26. But
I predicted all. I thought you predicted like all along.
You see, I was supposed to, but then I forgot about it.
You forgot. Oh no.
Because I have Swiss cheese memory.
So she is training, and Deka and her partner are making some really good progress, and she is developing her powers now, and White Hands is now the one that is teaching her. It's no longer like the accumulation of just the regular teachers. Now she's the special one, and White Hands also has a really high prominent role in society, and she becomes her teacher, developing her powers further. So then we go to chapter 14, where she has now completed her 3 weeks of training and is about to become White Hands' student. And so I said very shortly, I predict that Deka's mom was a shadow, and Deka's real dad is the emperor, and on top of making an army, he is trying to find his kid. I was not on
You
point
were halfway right here, because Deka's mom was a shadow.
But when I predicted it in the beginning, I was like, this is so far-fetched. There's no way this is going to be happening. Because I'm like, this book has truly been so unpredictable. So I like pat myself on the back for having as creative a mind as the writer.
Yeah.
But so then chapter 14, I was halfsies right. Deka's mom did end up being a shadow. She was trained. Yes. And then she got pregnant. So they sent her away, or she got secretly sent away.
But they talked about the pregnancy later, because she's actually not being impregnated by a man here. No. She's being impregnated in a lake.
By a god.
By a god. Mm-hmm. And that child obviously is Deka, so she's a goddess in a way, or an offspring of a goddess.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
So then in chapter 19, when everyone starts to band together, find themselves their friends. I said a lot of sisterhood packs happening in just a few chapters. We get it, you're bonded.
Yes, and honestly, I really appreciated the stories with the girls and the camp, and them sharing their experiences and actually learning to work together. I found that to be, I love those parts, because I mean, I'm a sucker for romance, and I loved all the bits with Deka and Kita, But girls being cool with other girls I like that, especially in a book like this where girls are being so horribly treated or, oppressed.
So everyone that is there that is her friend, they're all also Alaki. Yeah. And one especially, Belcalis, that's right. Yeah. She has the saddest story, I think, or at least one of them. Oh, one of them was drowned over and over and over and over, just left in a cage under the water, and I was like holding my breath through reading that sentence. That was a tough one.
But the Belcalis story with the being...
I can't even sit still right now. I can't sit still right now.
Awful what happens to her. We won't spoil this part. You're going to have to read it.
Oh, no. I'm
mainly because we can't talk about it.
No, and I'm not like a super emotional reader or movie watcher, for that matter. In my personal life, I cry a lot. But not so much in books and movies. But anyways... I wrote to you and I was like, it's hard not to feel feelings right now. Like I was feeling so many feelings reading about Belcalis, and that was a tough one. But it made you like appreciate them more for being as strong as they were. And then you really do feel like, okay, they're going to finally stand up against being like literally butchered by men their entire lives.
Yes.
And not to mention being called every name in the book. And you really truly want them to bond together and succeed. Mm-hmm. In what though? Because we don't know what they're going to succeed in yet. Because right now their mission is to kill Death Shrieks.
Yes.
As they're a part of the army together with their partners. So then they kill a bunch of Death Shrieks and find one of their nesting places.
Mm-hmm. And Deka starts to feel bad when she does this. She feels bad about the way they
she could command them. She's like, this is not
bent
right.
to her will. She starts to feel bad. And then in this nest, they found after they killed all the Death Shrieks, they find a lake.
They find a lake. And she goes to the lake, and out pops up a dragon cat.
Yeah.
That's why you see him, right?
Yeah.
He's a dragon cat. And his name, and I wrote, chapter 24, this dragon cat is a pet I very much want.
Yes. I mean, he is amazing. What's his name again?
Ixa. And then in chapter 26, when Ixa, then you find out that he is a shapeshifter, and he could become really, really big.
Yes.
And he kills a bunch of Death Shrieks to protect Deka.
Yes.
I then said, I stand by my desire for Ixa as a pet.
Yes. He is amazing. He's a blue cat dragon. I want one.
And then in chapter 26, we find out a little bit more, or Deka's powers start to evolve more. And we find out that she has a deeper bond with them because she starts leathering the way that they leather. So she starts to
and
evolve.
she starts understanding them when they speak as well.
Not just yet, but very close. So I wrote my prediction in chapter 26. I predict, similar to Shadow and Bone, that Death Shrieks were previously humans, affected by some old dark magic, and Deka will find a way to reverse the curse. I wasn't totally correct there, but because that happened in Shadow and Bone, spoiler.
Yeah.
But instead, the Death Shrieks end up being the Alaki, and when they die, they become Death Shrieks.
And how do you see the Death Shrieks? Because we did talk a little bit.
I was like, please. So I at first saw them as like sort of wild monster bats, but then they start to throw rocks. So I'm like, okay, they must have proper hands and not claws. And they ripped out one of this poor girls is.
But I still see them as kind of bat-like creatures. I see them, like bats when they have like those long arms, but maybe not the wings in that, because I don't think they have wings. But I see them with their long, and then they have a furry back because they have pelts with different color spines on their back too. So I see them kind of like bat-like creatures. There's another book, The Passage, that I read about a while back, and it has these vampire-ish creatures that are also described as big bats. So for me, the Death Shrieks and these vampires look exactly the same.
Okay, so you see them sort of vampire-y looking, but you see them as people.
I see them as bats
because they have long noses.
Yeah, I see them as the bat, like the bat with fur on their back. I see them like that.
Okay, but they're leather.
But bats have that leathery skin and the leathery wings and stuff. Like I see them like that. But at first I thought they were all black. But then they talk about them being white and then having red spines and stuff. So I'm not sure what color they are. Maybe they are every color. Maybe they're the same color they were when they were human before, like their hair colors.
As the book progressed, Deka starts to look like the Death Shrieks along the way.
When she uses her magic to command them.
Exactly. And it doesn't scare her boyfriend. And so then I figured that, okay, it's not as bat-like looking. It's more human-like looking.
But I think her skin changes and her eyes, but I don't think the shape of it changes. Okay. So, but Keita, he's on board. I didn't think he would be, but he gets on board way fast though.
Yeah.
Like he's like, I'm with you. I'm gonna be with you. Like we are together.
And he kept the pact.
Oh, he did for sure.
There was no betrayal of any friends in this book, which is a big YA trope where the best friend always betrays the main character.
Yep.
It didn't happen in this book. Like kudos to that. Kudos to being a little bit different.
And solid. Like I liked when they were talking about virginity and stuff. That it wasn't just the girls that were inexperienced. And it was
Keita that stood up and he was like, "Listen, everybody. Like, why do I need to be ashamed about not like having sex yet?"
Exactly. And then I wanted to be 16.
So yeah.
No, I like that, and I liked it when they actually do finally kiss. I appreciate that it was both of their first kiss, even though. I have to say, it is awkward as hell that he was holding her severed head kind of thing as this was happening. I am just saying.
She was not yet put back together.
No. So I envision him holding her and smooching her.
No, okay, I thought that the head is back on the body, but the arms and stuff are not back on the body yet. But anyways, it's slightly dismembered body in their first kiss. But of course, that's how it has to happen. Because the book is not predictable, like you.
But I also felt, honestly, as far as consent and all of that goes, kissing a severed head where the arms are not around to push you away.
She's awake.
Yeah, but how is she verbally going to say that with a tongue stuck down her throat?
She accepted it.
I know she did, and it was a good thing. But if there would have been non-consensual stuff here, this would have been this would have been a situation.
Because she has no limbs. Okay, but. There's a lot of battling happening, and I wrote this like a side note. White Hands is hilarious because while all of this battling is happening, she's lounging and smoking a pipe and drinking wine. And I was like, all I can see is this like super like posh-looking woman like Gwyneth Paltrow, like in like a white long robe on a chaise lounge, like smoking a big ass pipe and having a glass of wine and being like, "Oh, is your battle finished yet?"
Yeah. No, she's funny. White.
So I thought she was cool.
She's also referred to as Lady of the Accused.
Yeah. In chapter 32. When Deka starts to actually change for everyone to see, because she uses her power more often, this is my very last prediction. I said, what is Deka? Because that's how the chapter starts off at. And I said, I predict she's the old god reincarnated and hasn't yet reached her potential to remember who she is and why she is here. Nailed it!
But is she the old god or is she the child of the god? She's
the child of a god.
Not far off, but she's not actually the god.
But I feel like this book was like so unpredictable throughout the way, and I was just writing down like, what could I not predict? Oh, this, probably this, and then I was right.
And there are going to be more books in this series, which thank God, because the story is far from done.
No, but it ends perfectly.
Yes.
So what happens then is that Deka finds out when she gets reformated.
After the severed head kiss.
Yeah, after the severed head kiss. White Hands comes down and tells her the truth about who she is and what they're really, truly fighting for. And this is quite a twist of switching perspectives, because right now they're fighting the Death Streaks. And then White Hands is like, by the way, Death Streaks are us. And I am also one of you, but I am a god that was here before all of these other people. And they had imprisoned me for so many years until I made this bargain that I would then help them. And now I have betrayed them. But of course, it's only to let their grandmothers, or the first ones, the Gilded Ones, the actual goddesses,
yes,
they have been imprisoned in statues. Yep. So Deka was created by those goddesses to release them.
Yes.
And so at the end of the book, White Hands and Deka comes out to the Emperor and shows that they have now betrayed him. Deka is able to command the Emperor, who also turns out to be a little more...
Jakku?
Jatu.
Jatu.
And
which are the male warriors.
The male warriors.
Yes, and there's some with powers and some without. So the actual real Jatu are hidden amongst imposters, kind of thing, just to protect them.
And they're the ones running this male based society.
Yes. Of course it's run by men.
Men running a male-based society? Sure.
Yeah. Oppressing the women, the ones that are actually good at stuff.
Take a breath.
Calming down.
So Deka is able to command the Emperor, and they imprison him instead of killing him, which also was, I think, unpredictable, because I could just see it being like, twist, you're dead. You know?
Yeah.
And she goes and gives her blood to the statues of the goddesses. They wake up, and democracy starts to slowly develop as time moves forward. But not a lot of time has moved forward since she has woken the goddesses. So now, in the next book, at the very end of this one, it says the goddesses have risen. And you're like, ooh, what's going to happen now?
And honestly, I love this. I love this concept because I find a lot of these books, they're so focused on the battle and the fight, and hardly any of them actually focus on the aftermath of what happens when you actually win. Because I think there's a lot more to be said, and it's much harder struggle in a way to rebuild a society and change people's ways of thinking and you know, get a change in culture, and finding all of these, you know, backwaters little places where news doesn't reach them very well, and actually get them to understand that there's been a change, you know. We've had a regime change, and now we no longer do this to our women, and just to get the whole society to move along and change with the times. I think these are very interesting stories to be told, and I'm really looking forward to the next book, which we're going to have to wait, a year? Really?
Yeah. 2022, right faster.
Right faster.
We're giving you until September.
Maximum. I'm thinking a couple of weeks here. Because let's be real, realistic. I already remember nothing. So by September, this will be all gone.
I will refresh
I will just remember the feeling. It's much like the cliffhanger with the Holly Black, where I was so angry for a year, and then when the actual book came out, I'm like, I have no idea.
But this was a positive.
I have to reread it.
This was a positive ending where you feel like empowered to get into the next book.
So let's be realistic. I will reread this before the next one just to kind of refresh my memory because I have Swiss cheese memory.
I could reread this. It was it was an enjoyable fast read.
Yes.
Not like a mindless fast read.
It was very much.
Packed with so much stuff, so much world.
And I really appreciated all the different types of people that were in this book. Like, everyone didn't look the same. There were all kinds of people from all different walks of life and living in cities, living in towns, living in villages, and they were crazy creatures and animals in this book.
It's a whole world.
Yeah.
I loved it.
It was amazing. I love that. I do. And I hear this might be made into a movie or something, and I think this is going to be really cool. It's an auction, I think.
I wrote you, I said, I want to watch this.
I worry, though, with watching this that it would be too much special effects, so it would take away from the story. This is my only concern, because sometimes with these things, to make it look so cool and so awesome, it sometimes takes away from the storytelling.
But maybe it doesn't need to be made by some Superman director, you know? Like, it doesn't need to be made by some, like, Marvel-attached person. It can be quite toned down, like the way some vampire movies and things like that have been made.
Yeah.
Like,
well, you need to give this to a female, preferably a black female director. I am on board with this. Let's just find us one of those and get this started.
If you haven't read it yet and have already listened to our pod, sorry for all the spoilers, but read this book. You guys will love it.
I mean, I know we talked too much about it and spoiled a lot, but there's so much more happening in this book. So honestly, you can go into it, you'll just know the end, and you'll be happy to get there, and you'll be excited all the way along. It's great.
Thank you, Namina, for the Gilded Ones. This is us at We'd Rather Be Reading. We'll see you later. I'm Jerrica.
I'm Lia. Thank you, and have a good day. Bye.
We'd Rather Be Reading is an original podcast by Jerrica Saron and Lia Sanfer. Theme music for The Penguins, written and performed by David Alred from the album The Transition, courtesy of Erased Tapes. Please check him out on Spotify and check us out on social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook, and you can also email us on we'd rather be reading the pod @gmail.com. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe. Bye.